Oil is your engine's lifeblood, and changing it regularly is the single most important thing you can do to keep your motor healthy. DIYing your own oil and filter change is not only easy, it's the easiest way for you to save money as a motorcyclist. So today on RevZilla, we're going to use our standard toolkit, and I'm going to show you how to knock out an oil change in under 20 minutes. Let's open up the shop manual. Oil not only lubricates all the moving parts in your motor, it helps keep those components cool and clean. So yeah, keeping fresh oil in your engine is really important. It's also easy to do, and you can knock it out in less time than it takes to do a load of laundry. To kick things off, you'll need some supplies from your TSM toolkit. Grab your drain pan, a funnel, some nitrile gloves, a rag, a wrench for removing the drain plug, and a torque wrench for installing it, a wrench for the oil filter, plus any tools you may need to remove your bike's belly pan if necessary. Now, I'm gonna do this on the lift because I have one, but I've done plenty of oil changes on the ground, and there's nothing wrong with doing it with the bike on its side stand. If you've got a rear stand or a front wheel chock or some other way to hold the bike vertical, that will be helpful, but it's not necessary. If your bike was ridden recently, let it cool for a bit so you're not working on a hot engine. Next, use a rag to wipe away any grime from around the drain plug and the oil filter. Then crack the drain plug loose with an appropriate combination wrench or socket from your kit. Once you've overcome the initial tension on the bolt, you can usually unscrew it by hand, and you'll know when it's about to come free because you'll see oil start seeping past the threads. At this point, make sure your drain pan is under the bike and also verify that the cap or the vent of the pan is open so that the oil doesn't bubble and splash as it fills it up. I also like to position my arm in such a way that when I pull this sucker out, I don't get doused in oil. That's a mess. I had the drain pan a little too close to the geyser when I pulled the plug out, so we actually have some oil on the bench here. So obviously a good reason to keep some rags handy, and if you're working outside, a great reason to put some cardboard or newspaper down so you don't stain the asphalt. Wipe the drain bolt clean and inspect it, and make sure you're keeping track of the sealing washer. It usually comes off on the bolt, but sometimes it sticks to the engine case. As the oil is draining, take note of its color and condition, since that can indicate issues with your engine. It'll be dark, but it shouldn't smell burnt. Now, if you see any metal flakes mixed into the oil, us mechanics call that glitter, there is metal-to-metal contact going on, which shouldn't be happening. Similarly, if you see milky streaks in the oil, or if the oil resembles a mocha, that usually means that coolant is getting mixed into the oil. In other words, it sounds like you own an RC390 and your head gasket has finally failed. With the old oil out, let's move on to the oil filter. Some bikes like KTM's, Husqvarna's, and a lot of dual sports use an internal cartridge style filter. Meanwhile, most street bikes use an external spin-on automotive style filter. If your bike uses a cartridge filter, they're easy to swap out, but make sure you don't put the new filter in backwards. In fact, go ahead and take a picture of the old filter before you remove it, just so you have a reference. To remove a spin-on filter, you can either use a universal strap wrench, like this one, or you can use a filter wrench. But keep in mind, these come in a bunch of different sizes, so you need to get one that fits your bike. Sometimes manufacturers like to make your life difficult and put the filter directly above the exhaust. That means when you unspin it, oil is gonna get all over your pipes. It's gonna be a mess. Now, you could just let it happen and wipe it off, or solve the problem before it's a problem by putting aluminum foil over the exhaust to keep it clean. Okay, so with the filter removed, pour the oil out and set the filter to empty on your drain pan. Now use a clean rag to wipe down the filter mating surface and make sure the O-ring from the old filter didn't stick to the engine. It's rare, but it can happen. Before you install your new filter, take some fresh oil and lubricate the O-ring so that the filter spins on smoothly and seals properly. Turn the filter on by hand, and typically, once you feel the seal touch, you're supposed to rotate it another 3/4 to 1 turn to tighten it. It can be helpful to draw a reference line on the filter to help you measure the rotation. Now, your bike's drain plug is going to use either an aluminum, copper, or perhaps a fiber sealing washer, or it might use an O-ring. When reinstalling the drain plug, it is always recommended that you use a new washer or O-ring, but I'm not gonna lie. If it's a copper or aluminum washer and it's not too chewed up, I'll just flip it over. Whatever you do, make sure the washer is in place and get the plug started by hand before putting a tool on it to ensure that you don't cross the threads. Typical tightening torque for a drain plug is between 14 and 16 foot-pounds, but you need to check the specific torque for your bike in your owner's manual. If you don't trust the calibration of your elbow or you just don't have much experience, please use a torque wrench. Inexperienced mechanics have a tendency to over-tighten things, and doing that here could damage the threads in your engine, and that is an easy way to turn an oil change into a minor disaster. The next easiest way to screw up a DIY oil change? Forgetting to put oil back in the bike. Don't laugh, it happens. Your manual will list the type and quantity of oil to add to your engine, and it will also specify whether or not you should check the oil height with the bike held vertical or on its side stand. In any case, once you've added oil and closed everything up, go ahead and start the bike and let it run for a minute. Then shut it off and recheck the oil level. It might have dropped because the oil filter is going to soak up some volume. You also want to verify that there are no leaks at the drain plug or the oil filter. Top off the oil in your bike if necessary, and then you just need to make sure that you're recycling of your old oil appropriately. You can usually do that for free at any auto parts store or municipal transfer station. And if everything looks good with your bike, you're done. Congratulations. Hopefully now you realize that no matter what your background or your mechanical experience, you can definitely do an oil and filter change at home. Both your bike and your wallet will thank you.